Street Dawah.
All right, guys, Street Dawah, you know what it is. We are here right now, Islam Net in the building, here about to meet this bum of a Quran burner. That's his title. Can you believe that he identifies with this? Like, this is how he's getting clout. It's kind of embarrassing. You can pop him right over there. Take a look at him. He's right over there. Yeah. This is Lars Thorsen, the infamous Quran burner. Lars is the founder of an anti-Islamic terrorist group based out in Norway, who has gained publicity by burning the Quran. Lars's act of hatred has single-handedly united the Ummah to help raise over $500,000 to build Norway's first ever Dawah center and masjid.
Can we have this camera focusing on all the audience, sir? Can we have this camera focusing on all the audience? Because every now and then, every time we have a conference, every time we invite a speaker, they always can come with the same accusations. This speaker supports death penalty for homosexuals. This speaker supports death penalty for this crime or that. He is homophobic. They subjugate women, etc., etc., etc. It's the same old stuff coming all the time. These are general views that every Muslim actually has. Every Muslim believes in these things. Just because they're not telling you about it, or just because they're not out there in the media, doesn't mean they don't believe in them.
This is the uncut, heated interaction between me and the Quran burner from when I flew all the way from New York to Norway to not only confront him for his devilish acts, but also lead a protest against his evil actions. So if you would like to stop the Islamophobia happening in Norway, then click the link in my description and join me and IslamNet as we make history in building the first of its kind Dawah center and masjid in the country of Norway. So click the link in the description and donate whatever you can.
How many of you agree that men and women should sit separate? Please raise your hands. Subhanallah. So it's not just these radical sheikhs then. Allahu Akbar.
And watch this full video so you can understand this devilish actions that are taking place in Norway. Now, let's get back to the video. Lars, okay, Larry, so what's going on?
What's going on? Well, we're gonna have political stand here talking about the Islam problem.
Islam problem?
Yes.
What's the problem?
Next question. How many of you agree that the punishments described in the Quran and the Sunnah, whether it is death, whether it is stoning for adultery, whatever it is, if it is from Allah and His Messenger, that is the best punishment ever possible for humankind, and that is what we should apply in the world. Well, who agrees with that? Allahu Akbar. Are you all radical extremists? Subhanallah.
Your brothers and sisters in Islam Net from Norway are establishing a masjid, a Dawah center. This center, this masjid, this educational institution will act like a beacon of light, calling the Muslims in Norway back to the essence of Islam. So give generously and Allah Azza wa Jal will give you even more.
The problem is the tenets of Islam.
Tell me about it.
There's a lot of things. There's no golden rule. There's.
What do you mean there's no golden rule? So treat your brother, right? So you have to treat them with goodness. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. But goodness.
Yes.
Goodness is.
So loving for your brother what you love for yourself.
Yes.
So you're saying that Islam doesn't teach that?
Yes.
Well, there's a narration that from the Prophet Muhammad that says to love for your brother what you love for yourself.
Yes, and
so it says that.
Yes, but that's the important distinction here is brother, because Muhammad talks about brother, aka the other Muslims, not humanity.
So not humanity.
Not humanity, only the brothers.
Let not the believers take for friends or helpers unbelievers rather than believers. If any do that, in nothing will there be help from Allah, except by way of precaution, that you may guard yourselves from them. Take not the Jews and the Christians for your friends and protectors. They are but friends and protectors to each other. And he amongst you that turns to them for friendship is of them. loving those who resist Allah and His Messenger, even though they were their fathers or their sons or their brothers or their kindred.
So you're saying that there's a dualism that allows me to behave one way towards you and one way towards the other people?
Now, it allows you to behave, let me say, normal according to my ethics. Now, when Islam is weak militarily...
Islam is weak?
Yes.
It's the fastest growing religion in the world.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, it
First of all,
because if it was so weak that you wouldn't be targeting it. If it's so weak, then why are you bothering with this?
I can answer.
What he obviously means is that Islam is still weak politically in Norway, obviously. So if Islam becomes strong politically in Norway, then the social circumstance will obviously change for the worse. And your attitude against blasphemers will also change. Isn't that right?
The Jurification of Norway. Stop Islamization of Norway.
But time on 1 second. So you've targeted Islam specifically. What's your love and infatuation with Islam? Because you're obsessed with it. It's obvious.
I'm not obsessed with it.
Of course you are.
The problem.
If Islam is so weak,
Okay,
you said it, Islam is so weak, so why are you targeting the weak, right? Why don't you target something that's more growing according to you? Instead, you want to target this weak religion when you know it's not. Instead, you're a clout chaser. That's what you're really doing.
Okay, I'll answer that.
Go ahead.
Islam is not weak on a world basis. Islam is weak in Norway at the moment because there's not that much Muslims, let's say 10%.
Okay.
Now you got it, eh? It's in Norway, he meant. What this person doesn't like is the Islamization of Norway. Okay, I can understand that you want the Islamization of Norway, but what I don't grasp is you don't understanding why he is against that. That is what I don't understand. So, everybody is confused right now. Me, you, him. You proudly admit all these regressive attitudes in Islam. You proudly admit them. But then you wonder, why he doesn't like the Islamization of Norway? I don't know. It's a mystery, eh? Like the lost Atlantis. One day we might find out.
Is that what you're saying?
If I did this in a country where Islamic rules apply, Sharia.
I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that if you're saying that there's a majority of Muslim area, not about a Muslim country, because it's debatable as to what makes it Islamic or Muslim country. But what you're saying is that because there's less Muslims here, you're targeting them here because it's less than 10%.
No.
That makes you a bully.
No.
Your question was, why aren't Muslims going around prosecuting non-Muslims in Norway? And the answer is because political Islam is not in power in Norway. In Pakistan, political Islam is strong and mobs are lynching people for much less than burning the Quran. In Nigeria, political Islam is strong and a student was beaten to death and set on fire because she complained against Muhammad in a WhatsApp group. A tailor in India was stabbed to death for a tweet. Okay.
Okay, that's your opinion.
No, it's a fact because a bully is someone who, because they have bigger posture, they're able to target the weak. Therefore, that's the definition of what a bully does. The correct way, otherwise you look like a bozo. So you're putting your own interpretation in something and you're literally looking like a bozo right now. And that's what you're doing.
I'm defending my country from becoming...
How? By burning someone's book?
No, by informing the citizens here about the Islam problem.
So why
people on theology that commands you to invade and occupy my country?
So you're telling me that the reason Muslims are here right now is because the theology says to invade the country. Is that true?
It's true that the theology tells them to do that, but
So where exactly does it say for us to invade a country and just settle over there?
Muslims are in fact incentivized by Islamic doctrine to immigrate to spread Islam. O Lord, illuminate our hearts with the light of faith. Make us among the true immigrants, muhajirs, and fighters, mujahids, in the way of striving to make the world of the religion rule supreme. The word muhajir literally means migrant in Arabic. In Islamic context, it refers to the person who migrates for religion. Historically, this referred to the Hijrah, Meccan Muslims who fled to Medina.
He who forsakes his home in the cause of Allah finds in the earth many a refuge, wide and spacious. Should he die as a refugee from home, for Allah and His Messenger, his reward becomes due and sure with Allah, and Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. Those who believe and adopt exile and fight for the faith in the cause of Allah, as well as those who give them asylum and aid, these are all in very truth the believers. For them is the forgiveness of sins and a provision most generous.
Many Muslim political organizations like Tabligh Jamaat, Hizb ut-Tahrir and the Muslim Brotherhood consciously plan and engage infiltration of foreign countries as part of stealth jihad. These organizations engage in so-called civilization jihad that involves infiltrating and conquering Western democracy from within, according to the Muslim Brotherhood's own documents seized by the FBI. So, although there is the concept of jihad through immigration in Islamic theology, and there are Islamic political groups that actively pursuing that, Muslims are not immigrating to spread Islam. Most Muslims obviously immigrate for economical and political reasons.
Do you disagree that the whole, so this earth, right? The country of Norway or anything that has borders on it, it's because people have taken rule of that. But if you really boil it down, all of this, the trees, the earth, the sun, the moon, everything belongs to God. Would you agree?
If God exists, and certainly not the Islamic God. The Islamic God is a tribal, political and military leader that demands the subjugation of everything under Islam. Obviously, that can never happen. In fact, political Islam will be defeated everywhere until it takes its deserving place in the garbage of history.
The ethics of Islam
Go ahead.
is the opposite of...
Be kind to your neighbor is a wrong ethic.
that's the non-Islamic ethic. But
How so?
because the ethics of Islam derives from, it's based on 100% on Allah's will, the Quran.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So Allah has commanded us to be kind to our neighbors.
only the Muslim neighbors.
False.
We can,
False. No. That's not a debatable thing. That's false. Because when the Prophet Muhammad was asked about who has rights over you and what neighbors have rights over you, he commanded almost as far as your eye can see. And it wasn't specified that it had to be a Muslim or not. This is your interpretation so that you can twist something in your direction, Larry.
Although Muslims are allowed to show compassion, generosity, sympathy, kindness, and concern to non-Muslims, Islam strongly prevents Muslims to have relations based on love and friendship with non-Muslims. Disbelievers are to be treated with the burden of an unwarranted suspicion, as they are seen spiritually dirty. Although Muslims on the personal level are almost always good, well-intended people and should not be identified with the hateful nature of Islam, in the West we are left with the tricky task of stopping the evil ideology at the same time protecting our fellow Muslims. So how we do that? As we identify the problem are ideas and not people, how we defeat ideas? With superior ideas. Western political system is superior to political Islam and will inevitably overshadow Islam, but with one prerequisite: the protection of the free market of ideas. Social evolution only works in a free environment. In this context, the symbols of Islam should not be above criticism and ridicule. hate speech and physical attacks on Muslims should be obviously strictly prohibited.
Something in your direction, Larry.
And anything. I'm just reading the Quran loud here because
You're not.
The Quran commands Muslims to hate non-Muslims.
It does.
Yes.
Where does it command? Okay, several. So tell me one of them.
No, but you know.
Can we get his face just so we can look how ridiculous he looks?
I don't. There's how many 3,800 verses or something.
Just by quoting a number doesn't make you an expert, my friend. Okay, so you don't just have to say 3,000 some hundred. That's a sort of tactic they're using to sound more of an expert. Tell me those several verses that call us to hate other people. Go ahead.
The Quran is hate speech. Guys, this person asks for a verse. Open the Quran, whatever verse. It's an endless hate speech. Endless. From the first verse till the last verse. Okay. It's like a broken record of an insane psychopath, hateful psychopath, spreading hate. Okay, that is the Quran. You say a verse, a verse. Can you find a single verse which is not hateful? That's the real question, my friend. That is the real question. Find me one verse in the whole Quran which is not hateful. Well, we'll destroy them. Hey, we didn't hate the believers. Whoa. All the Quran is one endless hate, my friend. What are you talking about? Endless hate. David Wood, I cannot find now. I cannot find now the clip. Or I'm bored to tell you the truth because I need to search very much. And he took his channel down. In Jihad weekend, something like that, somebody asks him, a Muslim asks him in the comments. He said, "Do you think?" But Islam loves. He said, loves something. And David Wood said, "Where you find the love? Allah only hates." And he starts quoting what things Allah hates. He hates this, the other. Believers, blah, blue, hates this. He only hates, my friend. Wake up, my friend. Guys, when I make videos, I read the verses and I say, how is it possible to people to reading this garbage, first of all, and thinking that that's from God. But first of all, the lies are so obvious. Obey Allah and the messenger. Whoever does this annoys Allah and the messenger should
I don't remember them.
But yet somehow you remember that it's something that indoctrinated within you. How about the fact that you have hatred towards Muslims? Why? Why so much hatred towards Muslims?
Allah commands you to hate me, and you
really? Where? Okay, show me where.
And you have this doctrine of hate.
Still hasn't told me where.
Never should a believer kill a believer, but if it so happens by mistake, compensation is due. If one so kills a believer, it is ordained that he should free a believing slave and pay compensation to the deceased's family, unless they remit it freely. If the deceased belonged to a people at war with you, and he was a believer, the freeing of a believing slave is enough. If he belonged to a people with whom you have a treaty of mutual alliance, compensation should be paid to his family, and a believing slave be freed. If a man kills a believer intentionally, his recompense is hell, to abide therein forever, and the wrath and the curse of Allah are upon him, and a dreadful penalty is prepared for him. O you who believe, when you go abroad in the cause of Allah, investigate carefully and say not to anyone who offers you a salutation, "You are not a believer," coveting the perishable goods of this life. With Allah are profits and spoils abundant. Even thus were you yourselves before, till Allah conferred on you His favors. Therefore, carefully investigate, for Allah is well aware of all that you do.
The Quran is filled with hate. Most probably the most hateful book ever written in human history. Allah doesn't value the life of the disbelievers as He values the life of the believers. He's got some kind of Hitlerian mindset, but instead of radical racial supremacy, he preaches ideological supremacy. He advised Muslims to see unbelievers with suspicion and contempt, although he allows Muslims to treat disbelievers with kindness. In the prospect to hear the message of Islam and potentially become Muslims, the ethic of Islam is garbage. The political dimension of Islam is garbage. Okay, and although almost all Muslims are good, well-intended people, despite Islam, the Islamic hateful ideology should not subjugate Western societies. That is the simple truth. Now, as the childish simple fact is that Islam should not dominate the West, the only interesting question is how we can avoid that. And the answer is very simple. If we let, the free market of ideas being free, then Islam is doomed to die. That's why Islam insists on subjugating free speech, free conscience, and so on, because it understands that in a free environment, Islam is doomed to die. Simple as that. Thank you, guys. That's the first part. In the second part, this Muslim fellow becomes more agitated and more angry. See you in the next video.